All right, I am back and we are going to look at two functions called the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP. These are categorized as lookup and reference functions. And really the only difference is how they look up or go search for answers. So as you can see here, the VLOOKUP is going to look for the value in the first column and return the result in the row, where an HLOOKUP is going to look in the top row and return it for the column. So essentially what this is saying is the VLOOKUP is going to look up and down and then go across for the answer. And the HLOOKUP is going to go across, then down for the answer. So it's just a giant hunt and seek kind of function, and it will return the results based on what you are looking for, essentially, but just a lot more complex. So it says when worksheets contain long lists of data, use lookup functions to quickly find that specific information. Lookup functions are an efficient way to search for and insert a value in a cell when the desired value is stored elsewhere in a worksheet or even in a different worksheet or workbook. So as you're seeing here, you can use these functions in the same worksheet, in another worksheet, or even another workbook if you wanted to. VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP are two lookup functions that are used in this section. The functions can return contents of the found cell. The V in VLOOKUP stands for vertical. This formula is used when a comparison value is in the first column of the table. Excel goes down the first column until the match is found and looks in one of the columns to the right to find the value in the same row. So it's going to look down this, and then it's going to go over to the other columns in that row to find the answer. And this is your syntax for the VLOOKUP. So VLOOKUP, what the lookup value it's looking for, the table array, and we'll go through this as more in the dialog box, the column index number, and the range lookup. So here's a visual of what the VLOOKUP is doing, okay? So they are saying the lookup goes down vertically to the first column where it finds the match, okay? So essentially what this one is looking for is 5, okay? So years in Fabricam, find 5. Once it finds 5, what am I looking for? And you'll have told, am I looking for the individual bonus? Am I looking for the back office bonus? You'll tell it which one of those numbers to go find in the next column once it finds whatever it's looking for in the first column. So that's where the column and V lookup comes from. All right, the table array is a table or text number or values that are used for the formula. It can either be a range of cells like A1 to D5, or it can be a named range. The data in a table array must be arranged in rows and in columns. In this exercise, we're going to do a VLOOKUP that is going to look for, be looking for information in columns, and we'll go over to the right and find that answer, okay? And we'll kind of go through here and you'll see what is happening with this 10 Fabricam bonus workbook. All right, so I have that workbook ready to go here, and I'm going to save it really quick. All right, so we see here in our workbook that we have some last names, some first names, some salaries, some years that they've worked, and job title and bonus. Actually, I have the wrong file pulled up, but we would actually be doing a VLOOKUP and a bunch of other functions with this one as well. This one would be looking for the bonus, which would be down here. So once it found the job title physician, it would come down here. You would tell the function essentially, go find the job title, which in this case is physician. Once you found that, come over here to column E and grab that bonus and put it in here. The next one would be billing clerk. It would come down here, find billing clerk, find the bonus, and put it up here. So that just shows you what the function would be doing in a different example. So it works out okay. All right, so I am going to pull up the 10 Fabricam bonuses so we have the right file. My apologies. And we're going to do a bunch of different functions on this worksheet, some in this video and some in the next video. So what we have here, and I'll move this out of the way, is standard and performance bonuses. So we have these employees here, how long they've worked at Fabricam, their sales goal, okay, and then their actual sales that they got. And then we'll fill this all in with functions. And then we have this little subset of information down here. That becomes what's called our table array. And it's on the same worksheet, but we'll talk about that too. Okay, excuse me. So we are going to use the performance worksheet, and we are going to select cells A15 to C20. So this is the subset of information down here, and this actually becomes our table array. And what they're going to do, instead of us selecting the range every single time, they're going to have us give it a name. So then we type the name in when we're actually doing the function. You don't have to do this. You can if you want to, though. All right, so it says we're going to select A15 down to C20, which I've done. And in the worksheet, click the formulas tab, and they want us to go to the define names group. And then we are going to click define name. And when the define name box, a dialog box opens, we're going to name it bonus. And we are going to click OK because it's in this workbook and the range is correct. And I'm just double checking that quickly. All right. Now we're going to select E5. So what we're doing here, and there's two ways to do this. And I could have pulled up, I could pull that one up real quick so I can kind of compare and contrast for y'all. So what we're looking for is the individual bonus rate, okay, for Richard, for David, for Ryan, for Kim, so on and so forth. Okay, and we're going to do that with a VLOOKUP. So again, on the formulas tab, we're in the function library. We could use FX, okay, FX here. There's lots of different ways to go, but we are going to go to the function library, lookup and reference, because that's where it is, and it's way down here at the bottom. Okay, just so you know what library group it is in. So these are our arguments. Okay, lookup value, table array, column index number, and range lookup. And remember, as you click in each one of these, you get a little description down here to help you. Don't forget that. This is one of the hardest functions we do besides a nested function in this course. So what are we looking for? That is what I like to think of lookup value as. Okay, so what am I looking for that's in both places? How about that? Okay, so I know I'm trying to find the individual bonus rate. That is the answer. Okay, who am I looking at it for? I'm looking at it for Richard. So what happens is we have to be able to see in where we're going to put the answer and when we're getting the information from something that is in common in both of these. Okay, so I know I'm looking for Richard, and if I come down here, I don't see anything about Richard. I see years with Fabricam. I see years with Fabricam. That might work. Okay, I see sales goal. I don't see anything about sales goal down here. I see actual sales up here. Nothing about actual sales down here. So the only thing I have in common with these two places that I'm going to be pulling the information from is the years. It could be you had two options. The rule of thumb here is if there are two things in the same that are in the same place in both. Let me say that again. The rule of thumb is if there are two sets of information that you could use to go find the answer in both places, find the one that is the most unique. Okay, so say you had I don't know, an ID number and you had date of birth for that were in both places. What's more unique? Well, it should be the ID number because it's more random. Date of birth can repeat. I mean, probably in a workplace, not very frequently, especially if you drill it down to the year, but it could. So always pick the most unique thing that's in both places. In this case, it's going to be years with Fabricam. So in my lookup value, And the other thing I'd like to remember with lookup value is right where I'm putting this function, not down here. You're not getting that from down here. You're finding the match down here, but it's coming from up here. So what matches in both is B5. So I can click on B5. Then I have to say to myself, do I need to lock it in? Well, I don't, because I'm going to have B5 become B6 when I'm in David's, and then B7 when I'm in Ryan. So I do not want to lock that in because I need it to pertain to each person as I fill this function down. All right, table array. Table array is where is the match? So up here is my function, where is the match? And that's that range down here that we selected, okay? So I could select the range if I wanted to, or remember we named it a range. So bonus comes up here once I select it. So I could have, as long as I am super careful and I type that in right, because as soon as I do this, see how it's red? I didn't spell it right. It comes up as invalid. Now, the reason why we named it a range is because this gets locked in when I do that. And this is one of the ones that you normally would lock in, because I always want it to be A15 to C20. I don't want it to become, when I copy this down to David, I don't want it to become A16 to C21 and then A17 to C22, because it wouldn't be looking in the right area anymore. So your table array 9 times out of 10, unless you're not filling the function at all, would be locked in. Okay, so column index number really is just counting. Okay, so this goes back to that first question. Where is the match? Okay, so I said that years and Fabricam were in both places. Okay, so that's the match. Okay, so where is the answer once I find the match? Now my match happens to be down here in this column. So this is your starting point column when you're counting. If for some reason this was column B, I would, you have to start counting from where your selection is. So my selection was in A. Now I'm looking for individual bonus. I see individual bonus here in B. So if I go back here, the years in Fabricam, this is 1, oops, and this is 2. Okay, so where is the answer? Where is individual bonus rate? It's in this column right here in column B. So first column, second column. So all I literally do is put a number in there. Okay, that's the column with the answer. So you'll see down here, you'll get a preview. So if the counting ever messes you up, especially since you're not supposed to start counting sometimes from the first column, if you just play around with this, it puts answers in there. And you can kind of figure out which number it is by just playing around with it. All right, so here comes range lookup. You have 2 choices, true and false, just spell them correctly. So is it an exact match or is it close enough? And it tells us down here is a logic value to find the closest match in the first column sorted in ascending order, true if omitted, false if an exact match. I would tell you most times it would be false, okay? It would be an exact match that I'm looking for. True is close enough, okay? So let's look. I got Richard here. He's worked here 12 years. Okay, remember 12, the years is our match, okay? So if I come down here, I don't see 12, okay? So this becomes a close enough thing, okay? So I'm going to type in true. I'm not looking for an exact match, which would be false. Okay, so 12 is going to be closer to 10. So that's where the it's 2.5% or 0.025, right? If you move the decimal place. So that's why you see 0.025. So Richard's bonus, your bonus at this company that you work for, is the closest number by years that you've worked at the company. It's not an exact match. Some companies have, by every year that you've worked, and that would change this to false and be an exact match. So what am I looking for? I am looking for the bonus, but what is my match in both places? The place that I'm putting the function and the place that has the answer to that question, okay? Then once I have put that in there, I come down and I select where the answer is going to be. Okay, and it can be a named range. Then down here, so table array and column index number go together because what column has the answer in it? In this case, 2, because individual bonus is what I'm looking for in E5. And then is it an exact match or is it a close enough match? So your last one is your 2 choices are true or false in range lookup. So I'm going to press OK, and I get 2.5. Now I'm going to fill this down all the way to E11. Okay, and I'm not going to, I'll explain this last one here in a second. Okay, so if I go over to David, he's worked 12 years as well. 12 is closer to 10, 2.5. Ryan is 10, 2.5. Kim is 5, so there is one for 5. That's 2. 1.5 ends up being Nicole's. She has worked there for 4 years. 5 is closer to, excuse me, she has worked here 4 years. Okay, so it is looking for the 4, and then the closest is going to be, without rounding up, of course, is going to be the 2. Okay, and that might be a question you had, so I'm glad we looked at this, and I remembered to point that out to you, that it's close enough without rounding up, if you will, when it comes to Excel with us. Okay, and then 1 is 1. Now, then here's the other case in point, kind of going back to Nicole. Okay, is this is 0.5, and since it doesn't round up, it's going to say there's no match, NA. So don't worry about that NA because there isn't a match. So close enough will not find the close enough match going up. It will only go back. And that's why a lot of companies just have a bonus based on every single year that they're there, because that tends to be easier than this going back or going forward, rounding up or staying backwards. It just depends on your company policies, of course. So, excuse me. All right. Now we're going to try this again. Okay, so now this is back office bonus, and I'm going to click on FX this time. So I'm in F5, okay, and I am going to do a V lookup, okay, and I am going to press OK. So now, what am I looking for? I'm looking for back office bonus. And remember, lookup value is what's in both places, okay? What is in both places? That's going to get me the answer. Now, I do have 2 here, right? I do have individual bonus that's in both places, and I have years in Fabricam. Which one's the most unique, okay? The years in Fabricam, okay? Because that really identifies back to the person. So my answer again is going to be B5. Where is the answer coming from? It is coming from down here from A15 to C20, bonus. Okay, now what am I looking for once I get down here? Is it years in Fabricam, individual bonus, or back office bonus? It's back office bonus. So column 1, 2, 3. 3 is my answer for column index number because the answer is coming from column 3. Again, is it an exact match, or is it or is it close enough? Remember, it's close enough. So it also tells us, and I want to show you something, is a logic value to find the closest match to the first column sorted in ascending order. It's true or omitted. So if I don't put anything in here and I just press OK, it's going to put true in there, okay, instead of false. And that's what I'm supposed to show you in this one. If you look up here at the formula bar, you do not have to have an actual true or false in there because it will put true in there by default. So if I go to this one, I've got Richard, who is at 12. 12 is close to 10, 1. Same thing with David. Same thing with Ryan, okay? And then Kim, remember, is at 5, so she's right here. And then Nicole is at 4, so she goes back to 2. Linda is at 1, so she's at 2. And then Nash here, he doesn't get anything because he's at 0.5 and it won't round up to 1. Okay, so like I said, it's just a giant look. V stands for column. I found the match in this column and looked for the answer in another column, and once I find it, I go to the row that has the answer based on that match. So it looks by column, goes and finds the answer in the row once it finds the match. All right, I am going to press save as so I don't lose this. And I'm going to put solution at the end of this. And then we're going to talk about an HLOOKUP. Okay, so HLOOKUP is the reverse in thinking, right? Okay, so if I come down here to my HLOOKUP, okay, H stands for horizontal. HLOOKUP searches horizontally for a value in the top row of a table or an array and then returns a value in the same column for a row you specify in the table or the array. Uses HLOOKUP when the comparison values are located in a row across the top of the table of the data when you look in a specified row, okay? So obviously we're going to do an HLOOKUP here. So it's the opposite. H goes horizontally across the first row until it finds that match. In this one, they're telling us we are trying to find feet. Ooh, I found feet. And then whatever the number of feet are that I'm looking for, it goes down and it finds that match. Okay. All right. So we are going to come back to our workbook. Oh, what I wanted to show you quick here was this one would be an if we did this one, it would be an exact match because I'm looking for the thing that's in both places. This is my table array down here is position or job title. So that is an exact match. So, position is exact wording to what's down here. So that's why this one uses false in it opposed to the other one that uses true. Okay, so it tells us to click on the standards worksheet over here, okay? And it wants us to click in F11, okay, which is the results. And again, we go to the formulas tab and we go to lookup and reference. I drop this down and I will find my HLOOKUP, okay, under the function library. So we have lookup value, table array, row index number, and range lookup. So very, very similar to the last one. Okay, so it says, again, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the result, okay, and what's in both places. So the reversal is opposite here, okay? So what is in both places? I see beds, okay, and then I see column head, and then I see the word feet. So I have two choices here, okay? What one and what am I looking for? What is the result that I'm looking for? So it's reverse, okay? So I'm looking for a two bed, okay, based on the feet, okay? And what is my result that I want once I find that two bed? I want the feet, the result of it, okay? So I am looking for, okay, feet, okay? I'm going to go over here to feet once I find the number of beds, okay? So it goes over and then down once it looks for the result, okay? So I am looking for feet, E11, okay? Now, where am I going to get that information from? I'm getting it from up here this time. So A1 to D7 is my range. Now notice, okay, it is not a named range. So you want to lock this in. So I'm going to press F4, which locks everything in right away. Okay, now remember, if I do A1 to D7, I click out and I say, oops, I forgot to lock it in. And I click up here and press F4. It only locks in the cell that my cursor is touching. So you have to do it twice once you click out, okay? All right, so row index number, okay? Once I find, okay, this, what am I doing? What am I looking for, okay? So this one gets a little more complicated, okay? We are looking for 2, okay? So I am looking for what's in D11, okay? And I am looking for, I'm going to put in +1, and I'm going to come over here, I'm going to flip this, and hopefully you'll understand why in the world I'm doing what I'm doing, okay? So let me come back over here to the PowerPoint, okay? So it's telling us to pick E11, okay? This cell would change in the box if feet, because we typed in E11 if I filled it. In the table array, we want A1 to D7 because that's where I'm looking for the answer in. And then that row index number. We clicked on D11 and then I typed in +1. So this currently evaluates to 3. If you refer to the number of beds in D11, you don't come down enough rows because of the labels in the first row of the table array. The number of beds is actually one row more than the number of beds because of the labels in the column headers, right? So it's going to count that first row. So What they're saying is they want you to not include this first row, so that's what the +1 is, okay? So one might say, can't I just select A2 to D7 and then not have that problem? It doesn't necessarily work that way with an H lookup. With a V lookup, yes, you could. But remember the V lookup, you don't have the column headers over here in this first column, and I can go back and show you that in a second. It's different with the H lookup because you need the words to find the answer, and it has to include that first row, but you don't want to include that first row when looking for the answer because it would give you a wrong answer. And a lot of times it probably would give you the answer, it would just be the wrong answer. All right, so range lookup, okay, is going to be false because we are looking for an exact match. So what's essentially happening here is we know that the 2 bed is 1,000 feet, and that's the result that we want. So if I press OK, I have that. So now if I was looking for a 3 bedroom, like say I typed in 3 and I did feet here, okay, and I filled this down, okay, I should end up with 1,500 because it comes over here and it finds 3 and then it puts the answer in based on that down here, as long as I've got it locked in. So what I was trying to say over here with performance, when you're looking by column, there's no header over here on the left-hand side. This doesn't say, it's pretending a new column A. It doesn't say years Fabricam, individual bonus, and back office. So when you're looking this way, you don't have to put the +1 because there's no words over here to jeopardize that. With the row index, there are words. You have to put that +1 in to kind of bypass that, if you will. All right, so the other thing they want me to show you too is, and I did that essentially, is if I type a 5 in the cell under number of beds, my answer would change because it goes up here. If I'll come back up here and it would find 5 and it would put the 2,500 in there for me. Okay, now it says to go to cell E11, and if we change this to CO2, the answer is going to change again because now it's looking for CO2 over here, and it's coming down to the 5, and it is going to put in, make sure our result for 5 beds, which is 3 right down here. Okay. And then they tell me, hold on, if I come down here and they want me to go to D11 and they want me to change this to a 7, which isn't up in my thing, I'll get a pound ref because there's no 7 up here to reference that. But if I put a 1 in here, I should see it change to 1 because there is a 1. So it's just a way to manipulate, but it's harder with an H lookup because you got to reverse your thinking, and you have to remember that +1 when you have that column heading usage in there. So I hope this gives you a little bit of a grasp of the VLOOKUP and the HLOOKUP. Thank you.